On this week of Rick and Morty, Beth and Space Beth lose their grown-up filters, and Rick finally faces the guilt he's buried for decades. The episode starts off with Beth and Space Beth returning from their work as the family gets ready to go to Earthworld, an amusement park based on Earth. The Beths tell the family they're not going, with Rick saying that that's too bad and nobody wants to see a Beth's adventure. Beth and Space Beth get to drinking and start breaking down why they're so unhappy, trying to recall the last time they truly felt happiness. They both agree that the last time they were happy was when they were kids. With that being said, they decide to turn themselves into kids using a de-aging machine that Space Beth has on her ship. Meanwhile, the rest of the family discovers that Earthworld was renovated and is no longer shitty, just disappointing, which is worse. And Morty finds an alien girl who's interested in him solely based on the fact that he's human. The family also discovers that the guy who made the park is still alive and is living underneath the tunnels of the park. Rick sets him free to go to the Earth world he remembers. Rick is still sadly disappointed with this Earth world, as he clearly remembered it being better than it actually was. Back on real Earth, the Beths get carried away with their fun and destroy the de-aging machine, leaving them stuck as children. With the girls needing someone to torture, they choose the neighbor Gene as their victim. They cut him up pretty badly and set his house on fire after a disagreement causes them to try to kill each other. Rick intercepts the 911 call Gene placed and quickly returns to Earth. The creator of Earthworld was insane, and once Rick left, he unleashed his big-head humans on the new park, seeking revenge for what they did to him, while the Smith family escapes using a collar Rick gave them to make their heads big and blend in. Rick tries to break up the fight between the two Beths, but instead gets tricked and gets turned 360 years old. The Beths speed up old Rick, stating that he was unreliable and left them. Rick explains that his original Beth died, but the young Beths still state that someone had to have left them, and all they wanted was to be together. Rick and the Beths finally make up, finding a new level of understanding in their relationship, and Rick turns them into adults again. Finally, in the post-credit scene, we see all the past 911 calls Gene made that got routed to Rick's phone. Alright, I'd like to start off by saying I was completely wrong about this week's episode, but like Rick in the beginning of the episode, I really didn't want to see a Beth's adventure. Honestly, for me, Beth as a character has really stopped being as interesting after her reconcile with Jerry and after her acceptance of Space Beth and whether or not she's a clone. But this episode just proved to me that Beth can still be a very interesting character. I thought for most of this episode, Beth was going to drink and complain about her family like she's been doing for the better part of 8 seasons. But she really doesn't. Instead, this episode tackles her inner childhood trauma of being left alone. And I'm glad it was from the perspective of a 10-year-old Beth instead of the adult Beth. Adult Beth is more guarded and would be unlikely to confront these traumas even with her space self. We do see this trauma in this episode, and partially why Beth was such a crazy child was due to this trauma. Part of that was because she wanted attention and didn't want anyone else to leave her like her father did. Along with this, some of the traps and weapons the Beths used in this episode were actually pretty clever and resemble Rick's geniusness. Which is not surprising with them being Rick's daughters, with Rick even saying he's proud of them for tricking him. Even the B-plot of this episode wasn't that bad. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't that bad. They even got Danny DeVito to voice the crazy creator of Earthworld, Dr. Dogballs. And of course, the best part of this entire episode was Rick openly talking about his original Beth to his current daughters and having them bond over a similar pain of loss. We as an audience have known about Rick's original Beth for seasons now, but Rick doesn't openly talk about his personal life aside from Morty. So, sharing this moment with the Beths was truly special and something that I would love to see more of in the future episodes/seasons. This episode was definitely a pleasant surprise that I'm glad I was wrong about. More Rick and Morty videos are on their way. That's it for now. As always, I'm just a side character, and I will see y'all next time.